I'm Jay Horton. I make movies that make money. This is how. In the not too distant past, I did an interview with Film Courage. The link is in the description. I was talking about making my first few movies and how I did so while working a full-time, kinda, minimum wage job and basically willed my first 5 or so movies into existence. How I basically came from no money and no connections, but I made my movies happen anyway and ended up parlaying those into a career into making movies for a living. Now, the interviewer brought up another filmmaker who had made a $50,000 movie back in the 90s, which failed. And due to the huge financial loss, they never again attempted to make another movie. So, I told my story to basically illustrate that you don't necessarily need to have $50,000 to make a movie, and that even if you did, you could still keep trying. And, I was telling this story to motivate, not to point fingers or to shame someone for not trying again. And someone made the following comment. This line of thinking is so annoying to people who have real goals and don't want to just shat out a bunch of movies. Okay, well, first off, let me say, f*** you. Now, let me be clear. It is not my intent in making this video to shame or call anyone out. It is also not my intent to discredit anyone's train of thought about how they want to go about making their movies. But I am going to defend mine. Okay, now first off, I would love to hear that commenter define their real goals. I mean, my goal in filmmaking was and is to make movies, which I love, capital love. I love making movies, and I wanted to make my living from doing them. And you know what? That's exactly what I've done. I've achieved it. I make my living, however modest, from movies. I'm paying my bills with money I make from the exhibition of my films. And it is my intent, both with this channel and in the interviews I do for places like Film Courage and Indie Film Hustle, to show others that making a living off your movies isn't this giant, mystical, unattainable thing. I think the main issue here is the commenter is someone that has a pretty narrow mainstream definition of what constitutes a worthy or a good film. And look, I do understand where they're coming from. When I was a younger man, that was me. I was very narrow in my thinking. If something didn't fit my preconceived notion of quality or good, I just outright dismissed it. And I would be triggered when others would talk about doing something lower budget or less, when the truth is, my tastes or the tastes of this individual do not encompass all of our society. For this person, ULB films are shit, and who am I to argue their tastes? But the truth is, there are people out there, a lot of them, that watch and love ultra-low budget movies. I wouldn't be making a living off of them if people didn't. One could still argue it's just because I make a lot of stuff, that I'm just throwing a lot of shit at the wall and I see what sticks, and occasionally something does. And, very honestly, there is some truth to that. I do have over 40 movies in my library that earn me money every month. And if you're somebody that, only wants to make a movie once every couple of years or once a year, my paradigm isn't going to work for you. But all that said, do you know how many people still need to watch a movie, any movie, for it to make anything substantial in the AVOD, SVOD streaming world, which is where I see most of my income? A shit ton. That's a scientific term. Take Amazon, for example, which, in spite of the rate drops, the 1 cent an hour, and the purges, it's still one of my top earning platforms. Most of my titles that are available on Amazon Prime are earning 1 cent per hour streamed. A 90-minute movie earns about 1.5 cents per viewing. And that's not like a flat rate. If they stop at 5 minutes, well, do the math. It's like a percent of a cent. In order to make like $1,000 a month, which many of my titles do, the movie has to stream over 100,000 hours a month. Think about that for a second. If you have a little tiny movie that 100,000 people are watching monthly and watching at least an hour of it, somebody's liking it. And They're watching enough of them that I see relatively good revenue from them. Sorry, but the proof is in the pudding. People are watching and liking these. Then this commenter went on to say, I'm frustrated because the reality of the situation is you do have to get lucky. No one wants to admit that. You need the money, you need the vision and talent, and there's no way around that. To be honest, I'm not sure if they were really addressing me at this point because I've often said there's an element to luck in any success. And I have never said talent is not a component of success in film. Never. Not in the interview, not now, not in the past, never. However, in both my channel and interviews, I do tend to focus more on the business side of film marketing and distribution than I do like talent and nuts and bolts filmmaking. And the further that I get into that, the more I realize there is no objective truth in regards to quantifying talent and how it relates to a marketplace success. There are huge, giant budget movies that I think are objectively awful. Famous directors that I think are total crap. So, am I wrong or right in calling those movies awful? The truth is neither. It's subjective. There is no objective good and bad when it comes to movies. And ULB movies are no different. So the commentator then says, literally, the video showcases someone who lost $50,000 and ruined their finances for one movie, and you still have jackasses who pretend like you just have to be more determined. Okay, so yeah, it did trigger me, but they were getting close to a valid point, and this is something I've struggled with a bit over the past few years, because making money with movies is hard, and not everyone is equipped to do it. The last thing that I want to do is portray an overly optimistic or unrealistic view of the filmmaking business landscape. I do understand the train of thought here. I can see how someone would hear what I'm saying about, just bootstrapping a movie up cheaply if it needs to be and just doing what you have to do to make it happen. I get it. There are filmmakers out there that literally can't do what I'm talking about. And there are filmmakers out there that have absolutely no interest in trying to make a movie for $50,000 or under. To them, it's just not worth it. And maybe to them, the movies under 50,000 are not even real movies. And while I adamantly disagree with that take, it is a valid viewpoint. I get how someone with dreams of making their polished, like studio level film that can take years to get off the ground and hundreds of thousands of dollars a budget to make would be put off by somebody like me talking about how they just get out and make movies and make them in less than a month and make a living off of them, and is making them for less than what most people make in a month. I get why that pisses some other filmmakers off. I really do. But at the end of the day, we're talking about completely different types of movies and filmmaking here. The only difference between me and this cat is I'm not disparaging his type of movie and filmmaking. So he goes on to say, no amount of determination will write a check for $50,000, not even 10. And you still have to make a good movie afterwards. And to even pretend that someone on minimum wage can make a watchable movie is damn near criminal. Again, like I said before, this person has a very specific, unmovable view of what constitutes a good movie. And it's that last bit where he straight out says that what I'm telling people is criminal that really got my goat. Honestly, I could have lived with the whole rest of it, but that sentence right there was a big fuck you moment for me. I mean, it's not like I'm Mother Teresa out here or anything, but I'm doing these interviews and this channel to help others that want to listen. And those that don't, ignore me. Now, I know there are gonna be those that don't get it. Those that don't believe movies like the ones I'm talking about and I'm making should even exist. And they might think that it's ultra low budget movies like these and filmmakers like me that are responsible for their troubles getting their big polished movies made. And to that, I say, I hear you. You have a valid point of view. You are a beautiful snowflake, and fuck you. To the rest of you, keep making movies.